Let's take a look at this equation again. Average speed is distance over time. This equation can really be written three different ways. It can be written the way you see it there, and I'll just write it again for the sake of completeness. Average speed is distance over time, and I'll abbreviate there. DIST obviously means distance. But I could also write the equation this way. I could write time is equal to distance over average speed. That really tells me the same thing. If this is true, then mathematically that has to be true as well. These two equations are really the same equation. They're just rearranged differently. And I could also arrange it this way. I could say distance is equal to the average speed times the time. Written like this is what you commonly see in an Algebra 1 course, and it's commonly written like this: D equals RT. Distance is rate times time. They use R for rate instead of calling it speed, but they mean the same thing, the rate at which something's moving. D for distance and T for time. This equation, distance is rate times time, is exactly this equation. Distance is average speed times time. And that's the same as these two equations. They're just arranged differently in each case. And we'll do an example with each one. In this example, we're told that an airplane flies at 80 miles per hour for 3.5 hours. Find the distance it travels. We'll use our equation in this form. Distance is the average speed times the time. So we'll just put in these numbers here, put in a number for average speed and time, and multiply them together, and that will give us the distance. So let's put in our speed, which we're given is 80 miles an hour. And the time that we're given is 3.5 hours. Now watch this. This hours up here is really in the numerator, because we could think of 3.5 hours as mathematically being the same thing as 3.5 hours over 1. So this is the numerator and this is my denominator. So this h right here is in the numerator. This h right here, the hours down there, is really obviously in the denominator. So something that's in the numerator can cancel with something in the denominator. As long as everything's multiplied and divided, they're all factors, and they're exactly the same. This hour will cancel with that one, leaving us with miles. And 80 times 3.5 comes out to 280, and we're left with miles, so it's 280 miles, and it makes sense that that miles, 280 miles, would be our distance. We're left with a unit for distance, and that's our answer, 280 miles. In this example, we're told that a boat cruises at 23 miles per hour. That's the speed. How long will it take to travel 650 miles? Well, in this case, we use the equation in this form. Time is equal to distance divided by the average speed. And we'll put in the numbers that we're given. We're given 650 miles for the distance, and we're given 23 miles per hour for the speed. And I'll pull out the calculator to divide that. 650 divided by 23 is 28.3, and the miles here will cancel mathematically, and I'll be left here with hours. And that hours, mathematically it turns out that if we have a fraction right here in the denominator, this hours right there is the denominator of this fraction, which is itself in the denominator. So the hours being in the denominator of the denominator is mathematically the same thing as being in the numerator. So this is 28.3 hours. That's the unit that we're left with, and note that we end up with the unit for time, which should make sense. We were trying to find the time, and what we end up with is a unit for time. So 28.3 hours That's our answer. And in this example, Jake drives his car 78 miles in 90 minutes. What is his average speed? Well, we can say average speed is distance divided by the time, and we're given those two values. We're given a distance of 78 miles and a time of 90 minutes. So let's put those numbers in. 78 miles divided by 90 minutes. And then when we do the math, 78 divided by 90 comes out to 0.87, and we have miles per minute. Miles in the numerator, minutes in the denominator. So 0.87 miles per minute. If you go 78 miles in 90 minutes, your average speed is miles per minute. Now that unit is a little bit unusual, and especially if we're driving a car, we would expect the speed to be in something like miles per hour or kilometers per hour. So let's work the problem another way and get a little bit more useful or a little bit more ordinary unit of measurement. If I say average speed is distance divided by time, I'm going to do the same problem here, but I'm going to do it slightly different. Distance, I'm still going to use 78 miles, but for the time, 90 minutes, you probably know that 90 minutes is an hour and a half. So instead of writing 90 minutes down here for the time, I'm going to write 1.5 hours. And now I'll do the math. I'll do 78 divided by 1.5, and that comes out to 52. And you can see I have miles in the numerator and hours in the denominator, so it's 52 miles per hour. Well, which of these answers is correct? They both are. 52 miles per hour is the same thing as 0.87 miles per minute. Doing it this way, though, simply gives us a unit that's a little bit more common.